Hi everybody, Matt here from Matt Likes Comics with today's answer to the comic challenge of the week. Top 10 Canadian books. Now, this is a combination. This is a combination of Canadian creators and Canadian characters. They're not all necessarily the same thing. Canada has a long, rich tradition and history from in comics, from the Canadian whites to all the scares that were in Canada that led to the outlawing of crime comics in the criminal code that was only repealed back in the Trudeau government in 2018. So technically, everything I owned here depicted a crime and therefore was considered a crime comic up until, technically every comic in Canada would have been illegal because illegal acts were shown. However, they didn't bother to pursue that one too heavily. Only people with pornographic material were ever chased after with the law. We had lots of luminaries in our past, such as Joe Shuster, Ed Hamilton, Chip Zdarsky, Todd McFarlane. John Byrne lived in Canada for a long time, and there's tons of other creators off the top of my head that they're not as famous necessarily as them, but we see creators all the time like Sammy Francis, Mike Ruth, Tom Fowler, just as some examples. Ron Sutton, those are just people who have been on my channel. So, and of course, Richard Comley, who created Captain Canuck, another huge Canadian icon when it comes to comic books. So I was sitting there the other day thinking, well, what would I show? And this is what I come up with. I'm going to get the obvious one out of the way first. There are 11 books here, by the way. This is Canadian Comics Cavalcade, which of course has the first appearance of Mr. Canoe Head, but has a bunch of other Canadian books. This book was done as a way to help out Canadian food banks back at the time. And therefore, and it even says right here on the cover, that was to all proceeds from this comics go to aid the food banks of Canada. And I don't know how much it sold, but we were able to find 5 or 6 copies in one day as a group. So this is, Comics Cavalcade. Now, this is Epitaphs from the Abyss number 12. This is a cover, I want to say D, but cover was done by Tom Fowler, who is a local Ottawa artist. And as you can see here, I was awesome enough to get it signed. And I hope everybody likes it very much. Now, switching to the character side for a minute, it has been established in DC continuity that Booster Gold was born in Canada. So this issue of Booster Gold 7, where he's getting the crap beaten out of him by Superman, certainly feels what it's like these days in current ways to be Canadian versus America. And cool cover, though. I love it. Dan Jurgens, of course, was writing this. I think he did pencils as well. Booster Gold is awesome. Now, back to creators for a minute. This one is by Todd McFarlane. And I don't have any of the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man, or even the big covers like the Hulk or the Moon cover. I have this, All-Star Squadron number 47. This is this is the first one he did for DC. And it's been around a long, long time. All-Star Squadron number 47. Next up, this one is from Antarctic Press. It is mostly Canadian, and Dominion Jack is a Canadian character on the cover. This has been signed by Jack Abriglio, who is the writer for Dominion Jack. This is Exciting Comics number 40. Next up, this is a case of where the characters are situated in Canada. This is in the New 52. Adam Strange was Canadian, and he created a team called Justice League United. Supergirl was part of that team, as you can see by the little maple leaf up there. Jeff Lemire. Jeff Lemire, who wrote this book, is also Canadian. He's another one of those Canadian creators that I was talking about that, not always know. So you got a Canadian creator and a Canadian-based group in Justice League United. Next up, this is a twofer. This is why there's 11, because I consider these to be the same. The first appearance of Alpha Flight, which isn't on the cover of X-Men 120, but it does say Chaos in Canada. And Alpha Flight's second appearance, the Uncanny X-Men 121. The last three are ones that I decided to include because they are out there because friends have given them friends have either given them to me or I got them from Kickstarters. And they're all Canadians, and that's why I did this. Now, this is a Dan Yeagle cover for my friend Allan, the comic collector geek, and his book about, women of the Golden Age. I believe he called it Vixens of the Golden Age. And here we've got the same cover, but it's with a different color background. There's tons of covers. I have most of them. I think I have 5 of the 8 here. And this was, this was Allan's Kickstarter. He'll be doing a second one of those very soon. And I'm hoping that, we'll be able to get a Kickstarter on that. Next up is a book by Nick Klee, who's out in British Columbia, who is a friend of Lyle Hobson, who has Big Lyle, known as Big Lyle, and Big Lyle got me this book. This is called Life the Necropolis, and I believe this is issue 3. This was on a Kickstarter at the time, but it was also sold through the local comic shop, which is where Lyle got a bunch of these copies. Got them signed by Nick and had them sent along. And the last one that I'm going to show is from local comic guy Lau Tor, who's well known in the comic chats online. And this is a book he did called Mesotopia. And this is one of my favorite. This is my favorite cover I can show from the bunch. It can be difficult to put together 10 Canadian comics if you're not aware of who is Canadian or not. So, and also the fact it's because Canada Day is around this time that we are doing this in the first place. We want to celebrate our country and celebrate a little of our comics culture. Comics are thriving in Canada just like they're thriving in the United States on the creator side and on the Kickstarter side. And the sales are starting to slowly go up again. This, of course, is just an English Canadian comic history. I could have done 10 Quebecois books if I'd gone out to buy them, and it could also be considered a Canadian thing. But but the Quebecois consider it to be, and most comic collectors considers it to be a foreign edition, even though it's Canadian. Anyway, although to Americans, Canada is foreign. Thank you all for joining me today. And on behalf of my friend and sponsor, Ryan Jordan at Nefarious, I'd like to say thank you very much. And I want to thank you very much. If you liked any of these books, please like, comment, and subscribe below. Please tell me what you liked. Please tell me what you didn't. Tell me if you've got a Canadian book you like, and whether it's the subject is Canadian, like a Wolverine, or whether the creator is Canadian, like a Chip Zdarsky or a Todd McFarlane. Thank you all for coming. My name's Matt. I like comics, and I hope you do too. Bye, everybody.